What's going on YouTube? My name is Louie and welcome back to the channel. Not only was this past week in Collinsville Regionals, which we'll cover a little bit throughout the week, of course, we got a couple lists that we're going to be covering. It's always fun to look at different lists. But it was also a special event located in Cannes, France, which I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think I mispronounced that name. I even looked up videos on how to pronounce the name of that city. But that was the closest I got to figuring out how to actually pronounce it. You don't actually pronounce the S, but enough with that, what I love about these special events is that sometimes some obscure and different decks pop up and perform really well. And that was exactly what happened at this event, because today's showcase is, well, it's Charizard. Like, that's actually unique all in itself, because, you know, Charizard has a reputation of, you know, being a lot of people's favorite Pokemon, but not necessarily having a really good competitive TCG card. And things change with this card, and of course, the Charizard and Reshiram, people are looking at that in the future as well. But for right now, we have the Charizard from Team Up, and it's actually very interesting. It's very, you know, I kept talking about it. I keep talking about it every now and then in a couple videos, saying, oh, maybe it'll pop up, maybe it'll pop up. It looks like it finally did. It reached a top 32 spot at one of these special events, and I think that's pretty cool. So we're going to be covering Charizard today. Before we get to Charizard, though, we have to start with the baseline. So we're playing 4 copies of Charmander, going into 1 copy of Charmeleon, as opposed to playing 2 usually. And then, of course, 4 copies of Charizard himself. 150 HP, Fire typing is, of course, a Stage 2. The ability, Roaring Resolve. Once during your turn before you attack, you may put 2 damage counters on this Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for up to 2 Fire Energies and attach them to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. The attack, Continuous Blaze Ball for 2 fire, does 30 plus. Discard all fire energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 more damage for each card you discarded this way. So if you have the basic 2 fire energies, it's going to be doing 130 damage, taking out all the small things that you can think of, from Zapdos to Buzzwole, things like that. But of course, if you get more energies, it just starts to pile on. So 3 energies takes out things like Tapu Lele GX. So that's pretty cool. Weak to water, unfortunately, so that's a thing, because we have a bunch of water still running around. Doesn't really do too well, but it's out there. It's out there, and we're, of course, talking about, like, the Gyarados. Everybody's been hyping up the Gyarados. There's things like maybe a Alolan Ninetales pop up every now and then. It probably won't, but, you know, there's a bunch of different things out there. Empoleon, Swampert, things like that. So it's stuff for us to look out for. It does have a retreat cost of 2, however, but regardless, very, very good card for a Charizard, nonetheless. But we need a bunch of setup to get to the Charizard. So to start off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Jirachi 70 HP. Really only here for the ability. I'm saying just ignore the attack. It's just the ability that we're going to be talking about. Once during your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is your active, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal a trainer card you find there, put it into your hand, then shuffle the other cards back into your deck, and this Pokemon is now asleep. Now, we have ways to get around the whole asleep thing, and we'll go over that in a little bit as well. But I think this is a great, like, engine. It's like a search engine that the deck has access to. Of course, weak to fire, resist psychic, and it has a 1 retreat cost. What other setup do we possibly need in this? We need Alolan Ninetales. But to start off, we're going to be looking at Alolan Vulpix. In and of its own, it's actually really, really good as a support Pokemon. 60 HP here with the Beacon attack. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. And of course, weak to Metal type, no resistance, and a 1 retreat cost. Icy Snow, we're really just going to ignore it. We're not going to use it. But we're going to go into Alolan Ninetales GX. Now here, we won't be able to do attacks, however, but we can take advantage of the ability Mysterious Guidance. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So what's crucial here is you may have the Charmanders on your board, you may have the Charizards in your hand, but you don't have the rare candies. Alolan Ninetales Mysterious Guidance is here to help out to make sure you get those rare candies straight from your deck into your hand. So that's very, very crucial. Again, helps with our setup process. Now we need a little, you know, we have issues with opposing Jirachis, and we unfortunately can't be playing, because we play our Jirachis, we can't play Alolan Muk, so we have to have some other soft lock to try to stop Jirachi plays, and that's where Absol comes into play. Ignoring the attack, we are going to take a look at the ability. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a basic, its retreat cost is colorless more. So Jirachi usually has a retreat cost of 1, now has 2, so escape board, making it utterly useless, which is phenomenal in standard format. And then finally we're playing Flareon, which is weird. First we have to get into Eevee though, because of the ability. Energy Evolution, you attach a basic energy from your hand to this Pokemon. You search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from this Pokemon that is the same type as said energy, and then put that Pokemon to evolve it, then shuffle your deck. So it's very easy to get into, of course, your Flareon GX. 210 HP, fire type, of course. Heat Stage is the first attack. 1 fire, does 30 damage. You may attach up to 3 fire energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. So you may be in a situation where you actually have said energy in your hand as opposed to having it in the deck where you would normally like it. This will help to, of course, attach the energy wherever you'd like it, specifically towards your Charizards, of course. Bright Flame is the second attack for 2 fire, 1 colorless, does 190. That's pretty beefy for a fire attack for 3 energies. However, you have to discard 2 fire energy from this Pokemon, which is not necessarily too much of a bad thing, but it is something. And then we're playing Power Burner GX is the third attack as the GX attack, does 20 times. This attack does 20 damage for each fire energy in your discard pile. So this can also work as kind of like a clean hitter towards the end of the game. After you've used all your Charizards and all these energy are in the discard pile. For 1 single fire energy, you can go ahead and just hit for a pretty big number. Of course, depending on however many you have in your discard pile. And potentially getting the knockouts on what you need to win the game. Of course, weak to water and has a 2 retreat cost. But it's only a 1/1. Line in the deck, however, but still very cool to see Flareon get some love. Then we're going to take a look at the supporters. We're playing 2 copies of Cynthia for our shuffle draw. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. Then we're playing 3 copies of Guzma. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active with one of your benched. And then 4 copies of Lily. Draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand, which is very cool. Obviously, it's probably going to be our turn 1 supporter of choice. But that's it for the supporter lineup. That's not very many supporters, which, you know, it might be okay because we have a bunch of search engine in the form of, like, Jirachi and things like that. But into the items. Let's start off with the basic stuff. Ultra Ball. 4 copies, actually. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. And then we have 4 copies of Rare Candy. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic to evolve it. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a basic that was put into play this turn. So basically meaning you're skipping the Charmeleon line in the Charizard line. Yeah, that's really good. 3 copies of Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench directly, then shuffle your deck. Then 3 copies of Energy Recycler. Shuffle 5 basic energy from your discard pile into your deck. This is important because you want to take advantage of using Charizard as often as possible. Considering you're going to be attacking with Charizard, it's your main attacker, you're going to be discarding those energies quite often. You want to make sure you have them available in the deck to take advantage of the ability. Then we're playing 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. Of course, it's 2 different effects you can use. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Really depends on the situation that you're in, but playing 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher is very crucial as well. A little bit of switching cards in the form of course, switch 3 copies. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench. So this is important because Jirachi is just going to be sleeping, it's just sitting there. If you're not going to attack that turn, that's fine, but if you need to attack that turn, you want to make sure that you get Jirachi out of the active spot. 2 copies of Choice Band. The attacks of this Pokemon this card is attached to do 30 more damage to your opponent's active GX or EX Pokemon. A little bit of damage modifiers in the form of an item as opposed to an attack itself. But this boosts Charizard's attack by quite a bit. You know, 30 more may not seem like too much, but hitting 160 for 2 energies that you don't even have to attach that turn, it's pretty big. If you have more energies on your Charizard, it's going to be knocking out quite a bit of Pokemon. It'll change the numbers from 180 to 210, hitting all the big GX Pokemon that we have to worry about in the format, like Zoroark and maybe Lycanroc and stuff like that. And then the final 2 switch cards that we are playing, Escape Board. The retreat cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to is colorless less, and it can retreat even if it's asleep or paralyzed, which is crucial because Jirachi will, of course, just fall asleep once it uses its ability. And then we're playing 2 copies of Stadiums. We're playing 1 Shrine of Punishment. Between turns, put 1 damage counter on each GX and EX Pokemon. You want to soften up those big guys out there. You want to soften up the Buzzwoles, the Tapu Leles, the Ultra Necrozmas, things like that. So it's very, very crucial to have something like this in play. Plus, it helps with fighting off against your opponents like Wondrous Labyrinth, if they play that. That doesn't necessarily like stop you, really, just because you can have just an energy to attach on the Charizard and you have 3 energies. Things like that. It doesn't really stop you, necessarily, but it is a good counter, always having a Stadium of your own to counter your opponents. Heat Factory Prism is the other one of we're playing in this deck. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard a fire energy from their hand. If they do, draw 3 cards. So this is a little bit of draw support in the form of course, a Prism Storm. So it means we can only have 1 copy in the deck. Whenever any player plays an item or supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to this Stadium card. So the thing with Prism Stars is you can't Field Blower them, so it forces the player to play their own Stadium card. But if they don't play a Stadium card, this thing kind of just stays in play the entire game. So that's very, very interesting to see. And then rounding out the list, of course, is 9 basic Fire Energies to beast up our Charizard. So I think this deck was actually, it's really cool. It's really fun. I've been wanting to play Charizard for a really, really long time. So now that we have access to play it and have a really good, decent list to mess around with, this is fun. This is definitely fun. Plus, Flareon GX, it's unique. You really don't see it too often. But it looks like that's going to be a wrap for today's video, guys. Make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know down in the comment section below if this is a deck that intrigues you, because it definitely intrigues me. And then I'll see you guys next time for some more videos, especially some Collinsville regional deck lists that showed up in top 8, because I got a couple brewing up. I want to show you guys a couple of those. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys later. Peace.